We're at Adeleide Botanic Gardens today, and that's brought to you with the support of King Seeds and Cobra Garden. Hello and welcome to Pots and Trowels, and here we are for our third outing to a wonderful garden in Australia. At the moment we're in the wonderful city of Adelaide, beautiful sunny day, and we're in the Botanic Gardens, and these really are amazing gardens. I'm standing here by this old water feature simply because it's spraying a bit of water on the back of my leg, which is lovely and cool and refreshing. But the gardens are fantastic. They've been laid out into many different areas, very well established, but like lots of these gardens, they are continually evolving and being replanted here. And we can find lots and lots of amazing Australian native plants, but also plants that are from the tropics. We've got Mediterranean style planting and lots of the plants that we would probably grow in our gardens back in the UK. So we're going to have a wander around, do a little bit of exploring, and I've been really lucky to have a chat with Dr Leonie Scriven, who is the Deputy Director, and she is responsible for the horticultural content in the garden. Leonie, it's a beautiful day here in the Botanic Gardens in Adelaide. We're sitting out in the shade because it's going to be quite a warm day. But just before we chat about the gardens, just tell us a little bit about you. How did you get into horticulture and to be here as the Deputy Director? Yes,
well, Martin, I'm so lucky to be the Deputy Director here at the Botanic Gardens and State Herbarium. My role, I guess, looks after 4 Botanic Gardens. So Adelaide Botanic Gardens, Botanic Park, Mount Lofty Botanic Gardens and Wottonga Botanic Gardens. And I've been here 8 years. So this has just been an amazing journey, beautiful place. Actually, you're lucky you're here today. We had a 44-degree day last week, so it was really hot, but this morning is gorgeous. And I guess my time, I've worked in 3 Botanic Gardens, so this is my 3rd garden here.
Right.
Worked at the Royal Tasmanian Botanic Gardens and the Darlac Botanic Gardens. So in Australia, 2 really extreme climate gardens with very different plants and flora and horticultural requirements, which has just been amazing. And I think Adelaide sort of brings both of those together. So there's sort of 2 of those climates. We've got all of those sorts of plants represented here, which is why I love the Adelaide Garden, because as a botanist, as a taxonomic botanist, that's my background and training. So I sort of come in and I look and identify plants, so I like to put names on things. So I'm in the right place, being in Botanic Gardens.
And you've got an amazing collection of plants here under glass and outside, so it is a fantastic resource. Also right in the middle of the city as well. I mean, it couldn't be better placed, could it really?
No, it's a fantastic location. Many Botanic Gardens, particularly capital city gardens, are not based right in the middle of the city. This garden is on the North Terrace Cultural Precinct, so we sit next to the museum and the art gallery and Government House. And that was the way it was always planned. Adelaide is a really well-planned, designed city. We have the beautiful parkland surrounding the city, and the garden is an extension of that. And it's such a great refuge for people who work in the city or visit the city. In a really hot day, and we get some really hot, dry weather here in Adelaide, that extreme Mediterranean, almost getting into that sort of aridy type environment. And so people would be able to come into the garden, be under these beautiful trees that have been here since 1857. It's an old garden. It's one of, I think it's probably the 3rd oldest in Australia. So, and it was always meant to be here as part of the original city plan. So many of the features that you will see through this garden have their original roots. They're still here.
Yes, because I mean, we've just been in the beautiful Palm House. That is amazing, isn't it? That must be one of the original structures, I would imagine.
Yes, it is. That was opened 20 years after the gardens was open to the public. It's basically an IKEA glasshouse flat pack. It came out from Germany. Exactly. As it was, and it was constructed. A lot of the glass was broken, so they had to bring a second batch of glass out to do it. But it's still standing. It's beautiful. It's been restored twice. It now houses 2 really important collections: the Madagascan collection that we have here, and we moved from a tropical collection, hence the Palm House name, to the Madagascan collection because it's dry and it doesn't need water, and therefore the rust and the impact on the the structure of the palm house was being compromised. So now we have the collection, but it's a really important conservation collection, which of course is what Botanic Gardens are about.
Yes.
Plant conservation is a really incredibly important role that we serve. Education about plants, training horticulturalists, as well as all of the health and wellbeing benefits that we have.
Yeah.
So,
I've noticed one of the things as well, while we've been in Australia talking to gardeners and travelling around, there's a big movement to plant lots more natives as well, isn't there?
Yes.
Which is, I think, quite an important thing and a good idea. And is that partly conservation, but also because they've got better benefits for wildlife and cope with the conditions?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all of those things. I think, perhaps a generation or two ago, my parents' generation, native plants were messy and untidy and they just went all over the place and they couldn't be manicured.
Yes,
But I think people have now realised that with our climate, with water being such a tight resource for us, with those temperatures, the natives do so much better, and they can be manicured. You can hyperise them. You can do all sorts of things with them if you want to, and they just don't need the the high level of maintenance that a lot of the the non-native plants do. They're beautiful, and the habitat that they create is an added bonus. So we have a lot of birds here in Australia, and a lot of nice reptiles versus the non-nice reptiles.
Right, okay.
So, but it's great to have all of that. There's a little bit of ecosystem in your backyard, so it's very special.
I mean, one of the non-native plants that I've seen an awful lot of around this area of South Australia, roses, and you've got a fantastic rose garden here as well, haven't you?
We absolutely do. So we have the International Rose Garden here, which is an accredited World Rose Accreditation. I can't even think of the name now. It's fantastic.
It is amazing. And
it
big
is amazing.
as well.
That's right. So we're very lucky to have had the garden accredited at international standards. And roses love Adelaide. They love this weather. We don't get a lot of mildew, which is great. So it's something they grow. They're really hardy here. They cope with things. We do, but we can control it.
You're good.
So,
right,
so most of the normal sort of pests and diseases you would think of, we get a lot of those, but we can control them here. And the dryness of our summer tends to mean that you've got an opportunity to get on top of it. But we've got some beautiful varieties that have been bred here. A lot of Australian breeders do some amazing breeding, and we love them as much as we love the David Austins and the other gorgeous things that.
And yours are being
roses.
bred for your climate more than I love David Austin roses. We've got quite a lot in our garden, but they're bred for England. They still cope well here, don't they?
Oh, absolutely.
But the ones your breeders are designed for Australia at the end of the day.
They are. They're very much so.
Yes.
And for our soils, because we've got really quite depauperate soils, so they're just incredibly hardy and they're beautiful fragrance flower. And they're such a great companion plant for so many other plants that we can grow here.
Yeah, exactly. So the garden is open to the public, free of charge, which is in itself an amazing thing that visitors and residents can just wander in through the day and take in these beautiful gardens. You run lots of events here as well, don't you, throughout the year?
Yes.
And you recently had a really special event with a plant in the bicentennial pavilion, do you call it?
Yes. So we had a Shahuli in the Botanic Garden displays. So Dale Shahuli from Seattle, his work is fairly renowned in Botanic Gardens. So he's been to Kew and Missouri and Singapore and many other of the gorgeous international gardens.
Yes.
We're very privileged that they chose Adelaide Garden as a site to do an international display. So we had 15 outdoor artworks and another dozen or so inside within the Bicentennial Conservatory. And we have a piece still here. Thankfully, we had an amazing donor who purchased a piece for us, and so that's sitting. The chandelier is now still in the palm house.
That's beautiful, isn't it?
It is, and it was actually designed by the Seattle team for that location. So it's incredibly precious to us, and it's a great reminder of the joy and the beauty that exhibition brought. We had 1.4 million people come through in 7 months just to see this amazing display, and it filled the garden up. It was just glorious.
Which is what the garden's
people
for,
and exactly
to share, isn't it, with everybody?
Yeah, and it was really amazing to be here at the time because you could hear conversations in so many different languages that you wouldn't normally hear, and people that actually lived in Adelaide, many of them came back with families, and you could sort of hear them saying, well, I haven't been back to the gardens for a long time, and I remember being here as a kid, and you could feel all the memories and just that connection to the garden coming back again. So it was an amazing experience, and from a horticultural experience, it was an incredible challenge for us as well.
Yes.
So initially internally, the staff are thinking, how are we going to do this and how do we, make the garden worthy of something of, that international standard. And they just did an incredible job. I'm so proud of what they did in the displays, because you literally have to, some displays go into existing garden beds, other things you have to actually create to work with the display. And so we worked really closely with the designers to do that and enhance the artwork in the garden at the same time.
And I suppose it's events like that that puts you on the world map, isn't it? Also, a little bit like the Titan Arum that you had recently. I mean, what do they call it? The corpse flower, which we missed, unfortunately. It's gone over by the time we were able to get here. That will have attracted, no doubt, lots and lots of people.
Yes, it did. So we have probably the best collection in the Southern Hemisphere here in the Botanic Gardens. And so when it does flower, when they have the inflorescence, the reproductive phase of the Titan Arum, we do like to share it with the public. We named the plant, so Smelanie was the plant, and we live streamed her activities. So she was a bit of a diva, and she took at least a week longer than we thought she might to open up. But I think that's just the difference in temperature. She was really nice and warm and cozy, and where she was stored. And then when we brought her down, it got really cold, and so she just sort of sat and put a coat on for a bit, and then eventually it warmed up, and she just said, "Yep, it's my time," and did her thing, and opened up on the Friday night. She was disgusting. For a diva, she was revolting. Seriously, if you were there the first night when it opened, it sort of smelt like a roadkill, like a dead animal, or teenager's socks, or some of those French cheeses that are really delicious, but you've got to get them past your nose to start with. And just incredible. And we had people that had never been to the garden before, but were joining the chat session and just talking to each other and making friends and talking about plants. And it was just, a really great experience.
Exactly, all about building that gardening community, isn't it?
Absolutely,
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and we had 7,000 people through in 2 days to experience the event.
Just to smell something, exactly.
Yeah, just incredible.
That's brilliant. Well, thank you for, I know you're very busy, taking time to come and have a chat to us. We're going to have a wander around and explore this amazing garden.
Well,
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Really interesting talking to Leonie and finding out just a little bit about the history of the garden. I'm sure you'll agree that the palm house and the rose gardens are pretty impressive features here, as is this avenue of trees here. This is the Ficus Avenue, part of the original planting. So these huge trees are well over 100 years old. So these are what we know as the rubber plant ficus. Think of the house plants that you grow, different species admittedly, but these are absolutely huge. And this is how they would grow in the wild. And what they've done along this avenue is they've underplanted with aspidistra, there are ferns, and then they're allowing monstera, the Swiss cheese plant, to scramble up them, which is exactly how they would grow in a jungle situation. They would grow right up into the canopy and cover the trunks of these majestic trees. In this pavilion, which is really warm and humid, we've got these amazing giant lily pads. This is Victoria Amazonica. These come from South America and grow in really warm water. And this is just one plant, and they send out their leaves, and they can grow up to 2.5 meters wide. So absolutely huge floating structures. Really impressive to see them. If you fancy a bit of a jungle fix, then you can have a wander through this temperate rainforest where it's a little bit cooler, very humid, some amazing trees, and you can actually walk through the canopy. You've just got to time it so that you do it before the water comes on, which it is now, so I'm going to disappear. This garden has been replanted in the last few years and it's now the Mediterranean garden, and it is really well laid out. It's got a formal centre to it with this wonderful calming rill and a feature at the end, and then the beds are planted with a mixture of shrubs and grasses, flowering perennials, all plants that will grow in a Mediterranean climate, which is hot dry summers, cooler winters with some rain. And the plants come from all over the world where they have a Mediterranean climate, and they work really well together. The olives, I think, are great for providing shade, and then we've got this tapestry of colour throughout. The theme throughout the garden is they're all plants that don't need huge amounts of water, so they can cope through the drier months, and they are really easy to look after. So something we need to think about for resilient planting in the future. It's always good to have some shade in the garden, and this is a great place for that. This is a native forest that was planted by one of the past directors, and all these are Australian native trees in here from various corners of Australia. And it is amazing. It's obviously mature now, there's a good canopy overhead, but as soon as you step in here from the sunshine, the temperature instantly drops and it's much more comfortable. And I think that's a good point to bear in mind, even in our gardens, large or small. If you plant a tree or two to give a little bit of shade, it really makes a big difference. And this is one of the trees that everybody comes to have a look at. This one, it's an absolutely fantastic tree known as the bottle tree. As you can see, it's got this bottle shape, and it's one that you can't help but give it a little bit of a hug. I just wish I could reach the other side. Sounds hollow. Well, thank you for watching Pots and Trowels, and I hope that's given you a flavour of the Botanic Gardens here in Adelaide, but there is so much more to see. Thank you also to all the people we've met over the past few weeks when we've been out and about visiting gardens. Everybody's been so helpful and so friendly. And don't forget, all the videos we've done, not only in Australia, but all the ones over the last few years, you can find them all on YouTube, where you can subscribe for free. Next week, we'll be back in Lincolnshire doing some practical work in the garden, and I can guarantee one thing, it will be much cooler than it is here. We'll see you then. Bye.